So today's episode is all about Chicle suffering. Like, did he piss off the writers? Because they were mad at him today. So we start with Chicle just laid out on the street like those dead raccoons. Thankfully, Amadeo found him. So they rush him to the hospital, and all he's saying is, get VIVI, get VIVI. And Mary Peace runs to call VIVI and tell her the tea. And VIVI's like, what? Chicle got ran over? So she runs there and she's like, yeah, I feel bad for your boyfriend. And because VIVI come out talking about, yeah, we're not dating anymore. Just the Chicle coming out. And poor Chicle looked like a scared squirrel when VIVI tried to get close to him. Like, look at his poor little face. Like, I feel so bad for him. VIVI's like, let me take you home. And Chicle was like, nah, fam, Mary Peace taking me home. I feel so bad for him. But VIVI wasn't dumb though, because she went right to Camilo and she was like, show me the receipts of your car, because I know you ran him over. And Camilo was like, I didn't do it, but if I did it, this how I would do it. Like, you wildin'. And VIVI was like, fine, I'll marry you, you psycho. The next day, Regis goes and tries to win some brownie points by presenting Mary Peace with his new son. And Mary Peace actually fell for it. And honestly, I would have too, because they were so adorable. And even though Regis tried to flirt a little with Mary Peace, I'm honestly happy to see him because he's a changed man. Even Mary Peace and him had like a semi-civil conversation, which is amazing to see. Elsewhere, VIVI and Beatriz are touring Camilo's weird new apartment. And Camilo just shows up and makes everything uncomfortable as usual. And then he's like, VIVI, this is your new governess. And why does she look like a Evelina straight out of the Televisa Pizza Hell? Look at her. And poor VIVI was like, this lady about to make my life way more miserable than it needs to be. I have to say, Villano Camilo is kind of cartoony, but it just works because he's just straight out of the Televisa Pizza Hell. And this lady just makes it so much funnier. She's so like dramatic for like no reason. And Camilo's like, you have to watch her every move. I can't with that. Elsewhere, Joanna runs to Mary Peace. And my girl is just enjoying her cake, and I don't blame her because that cake looks delicious. And she's like, Mary Peace, why are you looking at me like that, you weirdo? And poor Mary Peace is like, I just wish that my daughter would enjoy the cakes that I make the way that, like, you are enjoying them. And Joanna's like, your daughter crazy because you make the best cakes. Like, finally, some appreciation for Mary Peace. Joanna really is the daughter that Mary Peace should have had this whole time. Not crazy as Josiane. And poor Mary Peace was so happy just hearing this. Anyways, then Rocky shows up, and he invites Joanna to his boxing match. But it's not just Joanna, because Fabiana crazy as inviting herself. She told Abel to go buy her some pair of tickets secretly so that Rocky doesn't know it's her. Elsewhere, Mary Peace runs into her old employees, Tonio and Jenny, and they tell her how Fabiana fired them over a piece of cake. Mary Peace was like, wow, that girl really is stupid, and honestly, I don't disagree. And Mary Peace is like, if you're looking for a job, I'm opening a new bakery, so I got you guys. So Mary Peace got her old team back, and it makes me so happy how everyone just loves her because she's such a wonderful person. I just wish I could say the same thing for Grandmama Evelina. Yo, Marlene came up, and she came ready with the words. She really said, no wonder Josiane turned out the way she did. Now I know who she got it from. Yo, she came out swinging. And Grandmama Evelina really had the nerve to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, yes you do, girl. You an extra snake. Even Mary Peace was like, all right, what did you do to Don Antero, and why did he change his mind? And Grandmama Evelina had the nerve to act offended. Like, girl, you know what you did? Poor Marlene breaking my heart. She was suffering. She was like, I can't believe he doesn't remember me. He doesn't even love me anymore. And this made me so sad. She was like, listen, if Don Antero is happy marrying Evelina, then I'm just gonna allow it. That made me so sad, yo. She's too pure. She's too good. So Mary Peace and Grandma Evelina go and visit Don Antero, and he still insists on marrying her. And this time the old lady said yes, her snake ass. So you can't be trusting these Ramirez women. They extra snake. Except for Mary Peace. Because Mary Peace just looking at her like, what just happened? And poor Marlene is crying over her long-lost love. Elsewhere, Octavio and Beatriz are having a very amicable dinner, which is strange for these two. And it turns out that they're planning their separation. Octavio was like, don't worry, I'm not going to do to you what Agno did to Lyris. I'm going to leave you with everything you need. And Octavio said that Beatriz was his best friend, that they knew each other so well. And honestly, that was such a good compliment coming from him. And they both planned out how they would eventually like lead their own lives. And they came to an agreement that they both deserve to do their life elsewhere with other people however they wanted to. And honestly, I like how this resolved itself. The next day, Mary Peace goes and informs Chicle that VIVI's getting married. And poor Chicle is like, I feel pain. But he's like, but I want to go. Where's messy ass? He really shows up at Amadeo's house and he's like, take me to that wedding. And then over at the wedding venue, everybody arriving. And Agno takes Mano Santa as his guest. But tell me why Castia's homophobic hater ass had something to say. Like, little girl, miss me with your nonsense. Anyways, the guests are arriving, and Kim is like, this is low-key ratchet. And Fabiana showed up looking fabulous like the Villana she is. She looks great, actually. I'm not gonna hate. Like, I hate her, but, like, she looks good here. And then Chicle shows up to be messy. Josiane sees them, and they're like, I know y'all are about to start trouble. And then VIVI shows up with her dress, looking like she jumped straight out of Game of Thrones. Why VIVI look like she belongs in some medieval castle? Looking like she gonna start a war or something. Like, girl! And everyone's like, what the heck? And Camilo looking extra pissed. But poor VIVI looking like she going to her own funeral. This episode was just wild all around. So we start with VIVI looking like she escaped from Game of Thrones. And poor girl is so miserable she about to go into this nasty ass wedding. She reluctantly gives Camilo the I do as her parents are looking on, saying, you don't have to do this. And poor Chicle is just watching all of this heartbroken. Later at the party, VIVI has to give a toast, and Camilo's always looking extra pissed. And I didn't think that VIVI had it in her, but she was like, listen, I just don't feel like toast. And then she throws the cup up against the wall. And everyone's like, what? I did not think she had it in her. But anyways, Camilo and VIVI go and continue arguing in their new apartment. And VIVI's like, I'm not gonna play along with this game. So then VIVI goes to her room and locks herself in. And then Camilo notices and he locks her inside. Poor VIVI had one of the worst nights of her life. And Camilo really tried to get in that room. Like, he's so disgusting. But the next day, poor VIVI wakes up and she realizes that she's locked in her own room. And poor VIVI is pleading to get out. And Berta, crazy ass, just standing there looking like a Terminator. I honestly love this Villana because she's so out of place. Like, she's just so 2D. And she's just like evil for the sake of evil. And it's really out of place, but it's really funny. And she's so amusing. Unfortunately, she's there to make VIVI suffer. Elsewhere, Amadeo and Mary Peace are having a good talk about how they should get back together. And Amadeo really had the nerve to talk about, I know it's too soon. Like, my dude, you were there in her house hours after Hilda passed away. Don't be talking about, no, it's too soon. He really tried to play it off. But Mary Peace was like, no, it's fine. Like, we should get back together. So Mary Peace is celebrating opening her new bakery. She's just so wonderful. She decides to give out free cake to the whole community. So girl, it's working. She's giving everybody her free cake. And then Regis shows up talking about, I want to talk to you and I want some cake. Regis is like, I'm so happy for you and I want to be there with you when you open up the new bakery. And Mary Peace is like, I don't know, like, I really don't like you. I'm not over the stuff that you did. And he's like, come on. But Mary Peace acknowledges Regis's growth. She was like, you know what? You're like a changed man now and I like seeing you with your son, so fine, you can come. And Regis is so happy. But this is going to be messy because you know Amadeo's going to be there. Elsewhere, Beatriz tells Jose Elliot that she's now a single woman. And Jose Elliot's like, wait, what? And he wastes no time inviting her to Rocky's fight. And Beatriz is like, fine, we gotta make this a date. And I am here for this couple. She deserves all the love she can get. On the other end of the stick, poor Chicle is heartbroken and he's telling Mano Santa how he wants to go back home. Elsewhere, Camilo confronts VIVI and VIVI's like, you cannot keep me locked up in here. And then Berta just stand there like the Terminator. I cannot with her. And Camilo's still going on with this nonsense, talking about if you leave, then something will happen to Chicle. Like, miss me with this mess, Camilo. Later, Kim goes and visits VIVI and she notices that there's something really weird. And then Beatriz does the same thing and VIVI's acting extra strange. And Beatriz is like, no, this is too strange. And then Camilo informs VIVI that any conversation she has, that Berta is basically gonna go with her everywhere. And this is crazy. VIVI's like, you cannot keep a guard dog on me. Like, this is ridiculous. And then they lock her back in and he's like, keep her in there. Make sure she doesn't leave. Like, these Milanos doing way too much. Over at Rocky's fight, Joanna shows up and Rocky is so happy. But y'all want to tell me why Agno was hating on her? And then Fabiana shows up and she started hating on her too. She was like, who are you? And Agno looking like he mad too. And Rocky's like, oh, that's just my friend. And she puts 2 and 2 together. And tell me why Agno and Fabiana were looking like the jealous exes. Like, y'all are mess. But Rocky's grandpa Chico is dirty AF. He's like, I need you to dope Rocky so that he loses the fight. And welp, I have to talk about these amazing boxing scenes. Like, they really went out for these, like, it looked so good. But poor Rocky was acting up because of the drugs that they got put in him. And he lost. Passion gave him that beating. He knocked him out so bad. He beat him up worse than when Mary Peace beat up Josiane. Even poor girl Joanna was like, yo, this is too much. Elsewhere, Chicle shows up talking about, I'm leaving. It's the night, dude. What are you doing? And Mary Peace is like, come on, just stay one night. Wait until my new bakery is open and then you can leave. And she convinced him and Chicle was like, fine. One day isn't gonna hurt. I'll stay. Which is great because the next day, Beatriz goes and pays him a visit and he's like, do not leave. And Chicle's like, no, I want to go. I'm heartbroken. Like, VIVI was mean to me. And Beatriz is like, listen, you gotta listen to me. Like, there's something strange going on with that marriage and with VIVI, and I need your help. And then Chicle tells Beatriz exactly what VIVI told him. She was like, your daughter told me that I was just a boy toy to her. And Beatriz is like, hold your horses. Like, she was like, that does not sound like VIVI at all. She was like, there is something strange. And Chicle's brain cells are finally put to work because he's like, you know what? It does sound weird. Like, really, Chicle, really? And he was like, fine, I'll stay. Show me where she lives. Beatriz is like, yes, we're gonna get this bitch out. Josiane about to get some bad news. The investor dude's like, by the way, that building that we were investing in, it fell down. And Josiane goes from this to this. She's like, where's my money? And he's like, yeah, your money is gone. And that bitch goes into rage mode. She's like, dude, you are completely broke. You are broke. Even Teo was like, girl, you should not have done that. Like, what's your problem? Josiane is like, leave me alone. How dare you try to give me advice? But here's my problem with Teo. Teo literally saw this girl scam her own mother, and she literally invested into slavery, and he is still there simping over her. Like, Teo, I'm gonna need you to have several seats, because this is not cute. So in our last scene, Josiane gets home, and homegirl goes right for the chips. She must be extra stressed. And then Fabiana shows up, and her rude ass goes right for the chips too. I cannot. And Fabiana's like, yo, I heard that you sold the mansion, and I want some of that money. And Josiane's flat out like, I ain't got no money. Like, I am legit broke. And Fabiana's like, Okay, that's fine, but you about to go to jail then if you don't give me that money. She pushes and pushes until finally Josiane reaches her psycho limit. And Josiane is like, I'm gonna kill your crazy ass. I'm gonna kill you. And the crazy jumped out of her. Like Josiane was extra looking wild. Like she really was about to push out that window. So we're left wondering, like, I don't think Fabiana's gonna get pushed out the window, but I feel like there's a fight coming on. Y'all, so this episode was crazy from start to finish. Let's just get started, y'all. So we start with Josiane trying to kill Fabiana. But Fabiana's like the Hulk. Like, she really flipped that bitch. And then she proceeded to give the ass whooping of a lifetime. Fabiana whooped her ass just like Mary P's. She was like, bitch, you gonna learn today. And Fabiana whooped that ass. Which left me thinking, if Fabiana's got her ass beat by VIVI, that tells me that VIVI can definitely beat Josiane's ass. Anyways, when she was done, Fabiana was like, girl, you out of shape and you owe me some money. You have an hour to do it. But Josiane looked crazy. Like, girl, you really got played. You really thought you was doing something. But we really underestimated how crazy Fabiana is herself. Because Teo saw her in the hallway. And this crazy bitch acted like nothing happened. She was fresh as a cucumber. Girl was like, yep, I just had a nice chat with her. Like, Fabiana, you extra crazy. So Teo walks in and he's like, so Fabiana did this to you, huh? And Josiane could only look at him with the shame of a person who just got their ass handed to them. But the rage is in her and she wastes no time. And she calls up her little cousin. And Josiane is like, I need you to get me a gun. Gal ain't stupid though. He's like, I don't got a gun, but I can do the job for you. But Josiane's stupid. She's like, dude, you already blackmailed me once. I'm not gonna let you do it again. Cutting over to Chicle, we find that he's stalking VIVI. So VIVI shows up at the studio and you can see Berta the Terminator back there. And even Kim is like, girl, what is she doing here? Like, she trying to become an influencer? And I lost it. So VIVI about to do her photo shoot as always. And this old witch had something to say. She was like, your dress is nasty, it's crusty, and it's ratchet, and it's immodest, and your husband would have an issue. And BB was like, excuse me, miss? Like, how you gonna comment about my shit? Like, I don't know you, you ain't involved in this. And Terminator Berta was like, your husband would not approve of that. I'm gonna snap him a picture. Poor BB had no choice but to leave. That Berta lady is vicious. But Chicle was peeping. He was like, that was a little too quick for a photo shoot. Something isn't right. Later on in the day, Josiane goes and visits Chicle to try to get the gun, but Don Antero has some time to read her for filth. How does Don Antero not remember Marlene or the plot documents, but he remembers that Josiane was an ungrateful bitch the entire time? Josiane, pissed as hell that she's getting lectured by everybody, is like, boy, like, I'm not gonna get read by filth by everyone in the cast today. So she goes up to Chicle, and Chicle's like, so what do you want? And she's like, I need you to give me a gun. And Chicle's like, no way, I'm not gonna help you out in anything. And he was like, and while we're here, he read her for hell too. He was like, you trashed her what you did to your mom. And I don't know why Josiane didn't just do this, but she just ended up paying Gael for the gun anyway. Knowing that everyone was going to the inauguration of the new bakery, she knew Fabiana would be alone, so she called her up immediately, talking about, I want to transfer the money over to you in front of you. And Fabiana was like, sure. So then Fabiana walks downstairs and she's noticing that her bakery is looking a little empty. And Abel's like, yeah, Mary P's opened a new bakery, so everyone is over there tonight. And Fabiana's like, wait, what? And she was pissed. She's like, Marcio, how did you not tell me about this? She can't compete with us. And her crazy ass was really like, you have to go over there and you have to spy to see what she's doing. And Marcio was like, girl, have you lost your damn mind? I ain't gonna be spying on nobody. We cut over to Mary P's opening her new bakery, and then the energy is high. She's so excited. So we finally get to the grand opening, and my God, was this freaking grand opening so messy. Like, everybody showed up and they all had issues with each other. At least Mary Peace was happy because she was so excited for her new bakery, and even Tonya was like, yeah, the bakery passes the vibe check. And then to make things even better, our girl Joanna shows up, and Tonya was like, yeah, she definitely passes the vibe check too. And they were so happy, but Loki Rocky back there was a little jealous of Don Antero and snake-ass grandmama Evelina show up. And then Marlene shows up afterwards. And Don Antero had the nerve to man-not her like she was one of the homies. Like Don Antero. Poor Mary Peace had to console Marlene. I feel so bad for her. Right outside, Agno was looking at Rocky and Joanna like a jealous egg. But like, look how cute they are. They are so adorable. Like, we stand so hard. And then Teo shows up and Agno's like, who is that girl? And how do I get her out of the way? Like, Agno, my dude, literally, Mano Santa is right in front of you. Like, you need to accept your blessings, stop thirsting after dudes who don't even want you back, and have several seats. Like, this bakery mad messy. Poor VIVI is having such an awkward dinner with Camilo and Terminator Berta. And I swear, Berta's a robot. Like, if at the end of the show, they're like, by the way, she was a robot, I wouldn't be at least surprised. But she's like, your wife was out of line today. And Camilla was like, what do you mean? And she started going like, yeah, her dress was emoted. And BB's like, bitch, you are not about to get up in my business. And Berta was like, I have the receipts. I took a picture of her dress myself. And we gonna talk about this picture? Like, how did Berta snap this picture from all the way over there professionally? Like, you know what? She should just be Vivi's photographer because that picture was good AF. Like, you know what? I am convinced Berta's a robot, an evil robot. And Camilla started lecturing Vivi on how she had to do things this way now. I feel so bad for her. I want her to be free. But thankfully, Chicle is onto them. He's spying on them like a psycho, but I am here for it. He better help her. Back at the bakery, the mess continues. So Amadeo shows up, and Sylvia and Abdia shows up at the same time. And immediately after them, Regis shows up, and Amadeo is pissed as hell about it. He's like, you have some nerve to be here. And Mary P's like, all right, guys, don't fight. He's like, no, after everything he did to you, he has some nerve. And they're fighting there in front of Abdias and Sylvia. And it's super awkward for Sylvia and Abdia, so they're just like, all right, we're just gonna go and get some cake. And they keep going at it. He was like, how could you do that to Mary Peace? And how could you have the nerve to be here? And Regis was like, well, she invited me, so I'm gonna be here to support her. And Sylvia was like, well, glad I'm not in that mess. But she was still looking at it. Y'all remember to be like Sylvia. Watch the tea from afar. And then Mary Peace laid down the law. She was like, both of y'all need to simmer down because y'all making this a mess. I mean, girl, it already is a mess. So Amadeo was like, fine, I have a problem with him being here, but I'm just gonna walk away for yours. So then Regis tries to be all cutesy with Mary Peace, and it's kind of working. And he's like, I'm so happy to be here. And then Lyris shows up. And I forget that Lyris and Mary Peace know each other. And she's like, yeah, I live here now. And Lyris is like, you know, ever since that Agno scammed us, I too live in the ghetto. And after things were messy enough, Mary Peace is like, oh, by the way, he's right there. And Lyris is like, all right, Coste, go say hi to your daddy. So Coste, little homophobic ass, walks over to Mano Santa and Agno, and she's extra rude to Mano Santa. But Mano Santa ain't no punk because he was like, listen, little girl, I have a name and you gotta respect me, okay? And honestly, I'm glad he did that because that little girl be out of line. And she was extra mad. And she was like, you know what, Agno, I'm leaving y'all because y'all annoying. She extra annoying herself. Like, this bakery opening is so messy. But for our last scene, we have Josiane going to visit Fabiana. And they're completely alone. They're being extra fake with each other. Fabiana just wants her money. And Fabiana needs to learn her lesson. Do not push Josiane. And do not let your guard around Josiane. She's like, all right, you gonna transfer me my money? And Fabiana pulled out the Glock. She was like, girl, you met your luck today. And Josiane forced Fabiana to tell her who had the copy of the picture that would incriminate her. And her crazy ass was like, I'm gonna shoot your ass. Like, she extra crazy. Like, I don't know how Fabiana underestimated her. So Josiane really thinks she won. She's like, I'm gonna get rid of you, then I'm gonna get rid of that evidence. She really thought she was gonna do it. She really thought she was gonna kill another person. But the gun had no bullets in it. So Fabiana went right for that ass whoop. She flipped this bitch again. She freaking started struggling with her and then she whooped her ass complete. And then Fabiana tossed her out the window. Like, my dude. So we're left there with Fabiana thinking, oh shoot, I might have just killed this bitch accidentally. And we are left with Josiane laying there like a dead raccoon. Now we know this bitch ain't dead yet because evil doesn't just die so easily. But I am here for this mess. This episode was so messy. So we start this episode with Josiane laid out on the floor like a raccoon that just got ran over. And Fabiana was smart. She called for help right away and said it was an accident. Unfortunately, she called Teo too, who you know just had to make a big deal about. And he's like, oh my god, Josiane's in the hospital. Which essentially ruined the night because Mary Peace had to leave for her own inauguration. The three of them make it over to the hospital and the doctor's like, yeah, she alright. Like, she got a broken hip or something. I don't know. And Fabiana show up looking extra suspicious. And then Camilo show up right behind her. And they're all like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why did he show up? And Camilo ain't dumb as always, because he's like, I bet you if I looked around, I will find signs of a struggle. And Fabiana was like, Camilo, how's your marriage going? How about you overlook whatever is going on here, and I'll keep helping you. These villanos always team up. In the other room, Teo was spilling the tea about how he ran into Fabiana, and how it looked like they fought. And alright, and now they're really like, alright, something strange is going on here. And Fabiana really walked out talking about, oh, everything's alright. And Amadeo was like, listen, Fabiana, if something went down, we're gonna find out. And Fabiana was like, me? Do something? Me and Josiane are best friends. Like, you fake. Anyways, Mary Peace and Amadeo going to see Josiane. And this ungrateful wench kicks Mary Peace out. Mary Peace was like, seeing you like this just made me forget all the horrible things that you do. But Mary Peace, don't trust her because she's just downright evil. So Mary Peace leaves the room and then her heart is broken and she talks to Amadeo. And Amadeo's like, listen, you know that thing that Gael keeps going on about the Ramirez blood versus the Mateo's blood? He's like, I'm starting to think it's real. I'm starting to think that Josiane really is the embodiment of the Mateo's blood and hatred, and that's why she hates you so much. Which, in a really weird sense, makes total sense. Anyways, Regis shows up, and he's like, I'm just here for emotional support. And Mary Peace is like, how dare you show up? Regis is like, I ain't done nothing wrong. Like, I'm literally just here to support you. And Amadeo's like, see, he's still playing y'all. And Regis tries to explain himself, but Mary Peace throws a curveball, and she's like, Regis, I believe that you're generally here to support me. Which even caught Regis off guard, but he was like, all right, I guess I'm getting brownie points. And honestly, I kind of like this. While they're arguing, Fabiana sneaks into the room to see Josiane. And Teo's like, I'm not gonna leave you alone with this bitch. But she gets her way, Josiane kicks him out, and Fabiana's like, all right, where's my money, bitch? She literally hands Fabiana her phone and she's like, do it right now. And Josiane's like, I'm gonna be completely broke. I'm gonna have no money. And Fabiana really was like, girl, IDGAF? That sounds like a you problem now. You better give me my money. So Josiane gets her money and leaves, and immediately Teo's like, all right, something just went down and I know. And then Regis joins in afterward. And Josiane lashes out at both of them. She's like, both of you need to get out of my room. And I just find it so funny that these two were rivals and now they're in the same spot. And Josiane, now broke for real, is left reflecting on her miserable condition. And honestly, I'm glad. She deserves every single bit of this suffering. She earned all that bad karma. Over at Camilo's apartment, we have Camilo telling VIVI that Terminator Berta is gonna follow her to the studio. And VIVI's like, alright, this is ridiculous. And she's like, we gotta remember our agreement. And Camilo's legit like, I just want to get back together with you for real. Like, I really do care about you. VIVI's like, ew, no, like, I'm not getting back for you. And you crazy. So they go over to the studio and only Kim is there. And crazy robot-ass Berta really had the nerve to say, I'm gonna approve all of your outfits. Like, girl, what? And VIVI was like, nah, bitch. Like, you really drawing the line. Like, you doing too much right now. So Kim calls her in the back for a pep talk. And she's like, listen, girl, you are VIVI Guedes. Like, you ain't gonna fall for this nonsense. And Kim is like, you're amazing and all this stuff. And she really does a great job of cheering VIVI up. And you can tell that VIVI really needed it because she just lifted her spirits. So Teo shows up and they start doing the photos. And you know, they're doing their thing. Teo's like, yeah, girl, work it, drop it low for me. And then VIVI drops it low. And Berta's like, no, it is inappropriate for her to drop it low. And everything just stops. It's like record scratch. Like Latino music stops. And Kim holding her flask is like, girl, you about to get it. And Kim grinded her ass up. She was like, listen, girl, the only thing that you're here is furniture. She said, you're a boss with some dry ass flowers. And Robot Berta was looking like a sapo. I don't even think she has feelings. Like, I legit think she's a robot. Anyway, it's not that they got Berta to shut up. VIVI went back to doing her photo. And honestly, it was kind of basic. Like, I did not like this photo shoot at all. Like, they could have done so much better. But whatever, Teo's new full-time job is now simping over Josiane. Like, he really went and made this bitch soup. Like, Teo, like, you need to stop, bro. And of course, Josiane's ungrateful as didn't care about this kind gesture for the only person that's there for her. Josiane's like, I broke, I need to move out. And Teo immediately is like, listen, I know Fabiana has something to do with this. I'm seeing all the signs. There's something shady going on. And Josiane once again flips out at him and kicks him out. And thankfully this time Teo's kind of like, all right, I'm annoyed. I'm going to leave. Like, I'm not going to be allowed to be treated like this. But you really are, Teo. You're really allowing her to treat you like this. You already know she's trash and you're letting her do this. And this ungrateful wench even had the nerve to throw the soup that Teo made her. Like, I cannot stand her. Really quickly, the next day, Mary Peace made a lot of money with her bakery opening. And then Joanna goes and visits her grandma. And it looks like her grandma must have some disease or illness, maybe like Alzheimer's, because she looks like she didn't really know it was Joanna. But now on to the final scene. So Teo goes to see Amadeo, and he fills him in on all the tea that's going on between Fabiana and Josiane. And Amadeo's like, there's definitely something wrong going on. And they're like, I know who can help us. Rocky can help us get to the bottom of this. So Teo catches Rocky up on the tea, and then he's like, remember that app that Jose Elio used to catch out Josiane? Let's do that again with Fabiana. And Rocky's like, all right, yeah, sounds like a good plan. Like, that's good. But how are we even going to get to Fabiana? And then Amadeo looks at him. And then Teo looks at him. And Rocky's like, oh no, y'all want me to go out with that crazy bitch? Yo, they're rude, but I mean, it's kind of a good plan. I don't want it to hurt him going out with Joanna, but I want them to catch out with Fabiana.